It's been a while, but we are back to finally once again talk about the MCU Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland, the highly anticipated sequel to Spider-Man No Way Home, the beginning of a new MCU Spider-Man trilogy, the first Spider-Man franchise to ever do this with Tom Holland. We're so excited for this, especially after No Way Home, because, that was kind of looking at it, that whole trilogy was the MCU Tom Holland Spider-Man origin story with the whole, by the end of it, great power, great responsibility, that whole thing, him being off on his own, living in an apartment. Now he's going to be a street level hero, and for real this time. So that's obviously super exciting. We're all super duper excited for this film, but when is it coming? That's the big question. When and how are we getting Spider-Man 4? Well, we may now know. Because the Cosmic Circus just released this article, Marvel Studios Spider-Man, What's Next? And I think the official title of the actual headline is like, What I Heard This Week, MCU Spider-Man 4, something like that. So basically it's about the future of Tom Holland's MCU Spider-Man in the future. It also talks a little bit about the animated side of things with Marvel Zombies and Spider-Man Freshman Year. So check out the article for all that stuff. We're just focusing on the live action stuff here. But let's talk about the future of Spider-Man according to this article of the Cosmic Circus, which is quite a reliable source. They've brought us lots of valid information in the past. The head writer used to work at Murphy's Multiverse. Of course, we know Charles Murphy, super duper reliable source. So the Cosmic Circus, this is some valid info. So first of all, I just want to get this out of the way right off the bat. When it comes to Sony's perspective on Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, and Andrew Garfield teaming up again, it's not a question of if, but just when it will happen. And we'll talk about that more in a second, but don't worry guys, Tobey and Andrew, they're coming back. Obviously, I wish Andrew would come back kind of full time and be the Spider-Man of their Sony universe with whatever they're doing with Venom and Craven and Morbius and all that stuff. There's nothing mentioned on that here, but there's definitely some other cool stuff. Like when it comes specifically to Tom Holland's MCU Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, where we left off in No Way Home. Nobody knows who Peter Parker is anymore. I mean, Spider-Man is known, but nobody has any idea about his secret identity. So we're moving on to a new era of Spider-Man in the MCU. And like I said, the big question is, when is this movie coming? Because No Way Home came out December of 2021. And kind of the pattern that those MCU Spider-Man movies followed was one every 2 years. We got Homecoming 2017, Far From Home was 2019, and then No Way Home was 2021. So, when is Spider-Man 4 coming? We knew that it wasn't going to be as soon as they weren't going to be doing a full-on just 2-year break because, obviously it's a break in the story as well, moving on to a new franchise, moving on to, again, a new era of this version of Spider-Man. Also, Tom Holland has said he wants to take a break from acting, but according to the Cosmic Circus, Sony is currently looking at a release date of July 12th, 2024, which I think is a pretty perfect release date for this because, the first two movies came out in July, Homecoming and Far From Home. No Way Home was supposed to originally release in July, but then was moved to December because of the pandemic. So to return back to, now that we're returning back to kind of what we had in Homecoming, where it was more of a street level, summer, kind of school-based version of Spider-Man, of course, the rumors of this being the college trilogy, I think a July release date makes a lot of sense. That's what I really loved about Homecoming and Far From Home. I really loved that July release date. So returning back to that would be great. The only thing is, what's interesting about this is if it does release on this day, this would be just 2 weeks before Marvel Studios releases the Thunderbolts, which would be the next MCU film. So 2 MCU movies this same month, same year, that could get quite complicated. We just saw a bunch of MCU delays. Thunderbolts was not one of them, so that's sticking to its release date, at least for now. So that could be definitely interesting to see if this actually ends up turning out to be the case. Again, this has not been officially announced by Sony or Marvel, so who knows if this will actually be the date, but I mean, again, Cosmic Circus, super reliable source, and I think July 12th would be a pretty good release date. Now, what about the symbiote? This is another big question going into this new trilogy, this Spider-Man 4. What about the symbiote? Because that was where we left off in that post-credit scene with Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock coming into the MCU for just a brief moment to basically drop off a little snippet of the symbiote and then go back to his universe. So now we have part of the symbiote in the MCU, and that, of course, is going to make its way to Tom Holland's Peter Parker. But the big question has kind of been like, okay, is this what Spider-Man 4 is going to be about? Is it going to be Spider-Man versus Venom? Is it going to be Peter getting the symbiote? I did a video right after No Way Home came out about my ideas for this college trilogy, what we could see. And I kind of pitched the idea of like, you build it up over the whole trilogy and have it not actually be Spider-Man versus Venom until kind of the third movie. That's at least my idea. So then you spend those first two movies of the trilogy building up Peter with the symbiote, kind of showing that downfall into darkness of the symbiote and its rage and that violence taking over. I think that would be really a great way to do it. And now, at least according to the Cosmic Circus, it seems like Sony has very similar ideas here, because he will not be getting the symbiote in that first movie. He will not be getting the symbiote in Spider-Man 4, but instead they'll be taking a more comics accurate route, and he will not be getting the symbiote suit until Secret Wars. Of course, we know Marvel Studios' Avengers Secret Wars, it is coming. It recently just got delayed to May of 2026, and this is exactly what happened in the comics. So we could see Tom Holland's Peter Parker Spider-Man, his next MCU movie being Spider-Man 4, and then he makes his grand return to the Avengers in Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, and then that is where he gets the symbiote suit, just as he first did in the comics, which I think would be a great way to do that. I actually did a video theorizing about that a couple months ago, which actually ties into the whole, Tobey and Andrew could also be in Secret Wars as well, and that would be a great interaction to see Tobey specifically seeing Tom with the symbiote suit, warning him about that, maybe Andrew even getting the symbiote suit for a brief time. So also check out that video from a couple months ago as well, if you haven't already. So that could be something really cool and interesting to explore here with the symbiote suit, and then bring that into phase 7 with Spider-Man 5 and 6, again eventually building up to the new Spider-Man versus Venom with Tom Holland versus probably not Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock. Maybe they'd have an MCU version of Eddie Brock, so that would be pretty cool. Now, the other thing is, okay, so if we're not doing the symbiote in Spider-Man 4, what is Spider-Man 4 going to be about? Well, again, according to the Cosmic Circus, it's not going to be the big Avengers level threats like everybody's been complaining about. So it's not going to be big multiverse stuff like No Way Home was. We're going back to the street level version of Spider-Man, which again is what we all want. This is what I want, and this is fortunately looking like what it's going to be. But specifically, what's even cooler, that according to the Cosmic Circus, this movie will follow up with the aftermath of the Marvel Studios Daredevil Born Again Disney Plus series, where we will see Charlie Cox return as the man without fear, Daredevil, the devil of Hell's Kitchen, to fight Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin. So we don't know much about the series yet. It's going to be an 18-episode Disney Plus series, also coming out in 2024. So that would be quite interesting, kind of how the timeline would line up there. But from what we heard about that series, the rumor is that by the end of it, it's going to end with Vincent D'Onofrio's Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin, running for mayor. Now, this could obviously tie into Spider-Man. We just saw Charlie Cox make his MCU re-debut in No Way Home, so you already kind of have the setup there to bring in that team up of Spider-Man and Daredevil fighting the Kingpin. Kingpin originally started off as a Spider-Man villain in the comics, so he's big in that world. Also in that kind of pitch idea video that I did about this college trilogy, I pitched the idea of Kingpin bringing in the Sinister Six. I doubt they would do that in just this first movie, but there is definitely some cool stuff that you could set up here. And what would be more street level than that when it comes to Spider-Man is Spider-Man and Daredevil versus Kingpin. That would just be a classic story that everybody would love to see brought to life on the big screen in the MCU. Just think of the possibilities of this. You all could also bring in the Punisher and all these other supporting characters. It just makes, I think, perfect logical sense. And I know everybody is saying like, oh, we want Spider-Man to be on his own. Enough with these team ups. You know, we had him team up with Iron Man. We had him team up with Captain America. We had him team up with Nick Fury. We had him team up with the other Spider-Man. Let him be on his own. And, you know, I want that too. But if he's going to team up with anybody, it should be Daredevil. So I think this would be pretty dang cool and definitely a really interesting way that I would love to see them take in for the direction of this new trilogy, specifically Spider-Man 4. So, guys, that's kind of all the big news, details, and tidbits from this article from the Cosmic Circus on Spider-Man 4, the future of Tom Holland's Peter Parker Spider-Man in the MCU, with the symbiote, with Daredevil. Everything that's going on here sounds amazing, and it gets me so excited because I was already excited after No Way Home, but now hearing these plans, this possible release date of July 12th, 2024, how that kind of lines up with things, it's definitely really interesting to think about and talk about here, so definitely wanted to bring the discussion to you guys, and you can continue that discussion down in the comments below. So guys, let me know down there, what do you think about this news? What do you think about the possible release date? What do you think about the symbiote? What do you think about Daredevil? And what do you want to see from the future of Spider-Man in the MCU? So anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the Marvel life.